this is an exciting time for Lifelong Streetcar. This is a first. We have not only a first-time guest, we also have a first-time co-host. Amanda and I are going to tackle this interview together. Welcome, first of all, welcome Amanda to the co-host chair.
Thank you.
You excited?
I am.
Did you do a lot of preparation? Because you know I'm really rigorous about my research.
I did some brief Googling.
That's actually more than I do. And we've got Tyler with the University of Arizona Poetry Center.
I'm thrilled to be here too. This is really exciting for me, and so fun to see the space and see how you guys do this work.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we're excited about it. Now, you and I go back a little bit because we actually worked together with Brian Laidlaw.
Right.
This was a few years ago, but we did a program called Silently Loud, and he was doing music through the Poetry Center.
That's right. Yeah. That was such a good day. And that I think back on that very fondly. So Brian is a singer-songwriter and a poet, and works with autistic communities that are nonverbal. And so he worked with a series of poets who had created the lyrics for all the songs. And then Brian set all those songs to music. He talked about taking direction from them. So things like, this is a rock song, you need to pick it up, or this is a love song, you need to make it more of a love song. And then he performed the whole suite of those songs at the Poetry Center. Really beautiful day. A lot of the lyricists were in the audience. So it was fun to have both sides of that.
And if you want to look it up, the album's called Silently Loud. And I can't say my favorite song, but the song that always sticks in my head is Trampoline.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Jump and jump in. So Poetry Center. So you're in charge of a poetry center. Does this make you a poet, or are you like an administrator? Like where are you in this spectrum?
Yeah, I'm a kind of a hybrid of all of it. So very much an administrative job, but I'm there because I love poetry, and that was what called me to it. So I started out as a poet and studied that in college and in grad school. And different lifeway pathways led to this moment in Tucson, but a joy and a gift to be able to be working at the Poetry Center now. We're open year round, open to the community, especially at the very end of the streetcar. So one can take the streetcar right to the Poetry Center.
Nice timing.
Nice
tie in the.
And it's good because parking is hard. So arriving on the streetcar or with a bike is a great way to get there, or a scooter. And it's been a great joy. So it's one of the largest collections of poetry in the country. There's a really robust slate of programs that happen there that are free and open to the community. Some classes that have a nominal cost that are available to people that want to work on their skills as writers. We really just try to be a hub for the writing life in Tucson. And it's a great literary city. And so it's just a great gift to be able to be in this role, thinking about it and working with folks that care about this stuff. So.
Very cool. What sparked your interest originally in poetry? Yeah,
good question. And when I think back to it, I got really awoken and turned on by a teacher that flipped a switch for me in high school. And so we were suddenly reading stuff that was way more interesting and way cooler than what I had read to that point. And I felt like I was coming alive. And so that moment is when I can trace back to where I got more serious about writing. And then a second step to that was after finishing my undergrad, I did construction for a little while. I was working in AmeriCorps. I was building houses in Philadelphia and in Portland, Oregon. And and AmeriCorps works, there's very little money, but it's about service. And so cheap habits and hobbies were good. And so writing was very affordable. And so I got really serious about reading and writing during those 2 years. And then that led to grad school, and then suddenly that's what I was doing with my life. A lucky pathway.
Yeah.
In some ways.
What do you think the Poetry Center provides for Tucson specifically?
Yeah. So we're so lucky that it's here. As one of the largest collections of poetry in the country, it could be in LA, it could be in Seattle. There are peer versions of kind of what the Poetry Center represents in New York and in Chicago. But this exists in Tucson. And one of the reasons why that's true is that there's a community in Tucson that really cares about it and wants this. And so we have a really beautiful facility that I would love for people to come and visit, and everyone is welcome. But the story of that facility isn't one where, sort of one person said, we're going to have a poetry center, or the university said we're going to have a poetry center, and then sort of provided the resources. There was many people involved, everyone kind of chipping in to make the dream become a reality. So that center, the center started in 1960. The early versions of it were very humble. They existed in sort of 2 small adobe houses, kind of classic Tucson architecture, 1,000 square foot spaces. And then more recently, there was this big groundswell of support that said it really deserves a permanent and landmark home. And if we were going to do that, what could it look like? And so we ended up with an aspirational building and a great place to house all these programs in this collection. So that's the biggest thing that we can offer Tucson is a kind of placemaking space for poetry that's here, that's ours. And it really belongs to all of us. And we try to then think about the all of us in a really big-hearted way. So trying to think about all parts of Tucson and how they can imagine themselves in that space. And also about different ages, people at different stages of life, how they think about what the opportunities are for them that's there. So we're really excited about that work and keep thinking about it in ongoing ways.
Yeah.
So
what difference do you think it would be if it wasn't sponsored by the university?
That's a good question too. So we're so lucky that it's at the university. It really helps with, it's been a backbone of support. It's been amazing. There are times when it's not perfect, but it's mostly great. And we're lucky for that. And so when other nonprofits, I think, sometimes struggle with resources that can ebb and flow, we're lucky to have a staff that's supported with state support that the university can offer. And then likewise, the intellectual community of the university is a huge richness that enlivens the place. And we feel like we can be a kind of front door for a section of Tucson into the university, which can sometimes feel like a tough place to get into. You can buy a ticket to a game, you can buy a ticket to a show, but sometimes it's hard to figure out how do I make use of all the good stuff that's here. Mm-hmm. And really, the university belongs to everyone in Arizona. And so we like to think that the Poetry Center is a part of that too.
Yeah, when you're talking about the center, it's somewhat of an abstract term. So, but you have a little campus within the campus. Share with us a little bit about what happens there, all the facilities.
Yeah. So we have a beautiful space that's very flexible, and it was designed so that we could do a lot of different stuff with the facility. So there's a little apartment that's part of it. That's like a 400 square foot space, really beautiful. And it's where we host visiting poets, which has been an incredible benefit for the 20 years that we've been in the facility. We haven't had to pay for any gym show pricing on hotels, which is lucky because we have a free place to put people up. But it also means when someone comes, we can say, you can stay extra days. You can use the library. You can do some work in the community. We can visit some schools. And that's added a really exciting layer to what is possible with the space. So that's one part of it. There's a really delightful presentation space where classes happen during the day and our readings and events happen at night. And the doors on that space are on one wall can open up. It's a 40-foot glass wall. And so you can add an additional sort of 150 chairs into a breezeway. And that makes the space very flexible for bigger events or smaller events. So that we can make them feel comfortable. And usually the weather cooperates. Sometimes it doesn't. Most of the poetry readings then, because they're indoor-outdoor, become a duet with a train. And the way that Tucson is a kind of...
a duet with the train. That is the best way I've ever heard that described. Leave it to a poet to come up with that. It's a duet with a train.
But it's been, during COVID, it was a lucky space because we had all this airflow, right? We could make it a safer space for people to start to come back together a little bit sooner maybe than some of our peers. And then across the breezeway, there's the library collection. And so that's designed to be accessible and open shelved. So it wasn't designed so that we would hide the books. We wanted the books to be available to everybody to come and see them and find them. And it's a print-based collection. So when you walk through the doors of that, you're in the presence of somewhere around like 6 or 7 million poems, which is not a thing that's possible anywhere else that we know of. And that was a big part of the architecture, was imagining how do we do this in a way that foregrounds the material so that people can go and find them. So it's been a great space. It's mostly a library. We have days where we turn it over to kids and have kid-centric programs, and that's been a lot of fun. So really a big swath of programs happen out of the space.
And the library's glass, right? Like when you're looking from the outside, you see clearly like all of those volumes in there, right?
It's true. Yeah. So it's glass, and there's some filters. There's a bamboo garden on the east side of it. There's the breezeway on the west side. So there's some things that help sort of mitigate some of the direct light and ability to look in. But it is very much designed to be a thing to look at and to observe, to see. And hopefully to celebrate that people are excited to be a part of it. So, yeah, we feel very lucky.
What kind of guest poets do you have come in?
Yeah, so I like to think there's a way you can track the 20th and 21st century of American poetry, and even in some ways international poetry, through Tucson. And that's a hallmark of what the Poetry Center has been. And directors before me who had done that work and kind of established this as a place. We're really lucky that when we invite poets to come, they already know it, and they're excited to come if they've never been. And usually they're excited to come back if they've been before. So there's a great history of everyone you can imagine, from sort of a sort of upper echelon, a kind of Nobel laureates, Pulitzer Prize winners, National Book Award winners, Poets Laureate. We had the U.S. Poet Laureate here last year in December, which was great. Ada Limon, she's about to finish her tenure after a 3-year run. So that happens. But then we also have emerging writers too, people at the beginning of their career who are beginning to find their way to their best work. And we record all of those visits. So one of our great digital collections is that series of recordings, and we call that Voca. And that's fully digitized, online, and accessible. Wow. You can go find those readings. So if you heard a reading 10 years ago, Amanda, and you're like, I remember there's this reading and I want to go find it, there's a good chance we can go find it, and even find the particular poem you might be remembering. One of the big COVID projects for us was a project to caption that archive. And so we suddenly learned all the words that were in the digital holdings. And so there's about 7 million words in the archive, 25 languages. And that improved accessibility, but it also improved searchability and discoverability. So you can find particular things in a new way. So lots of good things.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're also involved in downtown with the Haiku Hike, correct?
Right. Yeah. So the big thing, it's great to have an awesome space, but if we just exist on campus, we're not doing our job as well as we could. And so we're often trying to figure out ways to get out into the community more broadly. So the Haiku Hike is a great example of that. And that's been a collaboration with the Downtown Tucson Partnership. And really, truly, the Tucson Poet Laureate, T.C. Tolbert, has been an integral part of how that works. Open call to anyone to submit a haiku around a theme, and the winners are displayed in the planters throughout downtown Tucson along Congress and on Stone.
Now I have submitted a few, and I haven't not yet been selected. So I'm thinking there might be some kind of rigging going on. Is that? I mean, clearly,
we strategize. We say this is one of the Tom poems. So there's a special corner we put those in. The TC reads them all blind, and so he doesn't know who's written them. There's about 2,000 per year that are submitted, and 20 that are picked. So it's a lot of reading and kind of moving yes, no, and a lot more no's than yeses. So don't worry, keep at it. And there'll be a next year. This year's theme is belonging, and so the poems were written and selected kind of around that theme, and imagining kind of how do we make the conditions for belonging, and what does that look like? And so the poems show up differently. Some of them are a little bit more abstract. Some of them are more direct. Some of them are about the challenges of belonging, what it feels like to feel like you don't fit when a culture or a city maybe makes you feel that way. Others are more direct about what causes that. There's one that I love that's about a person just going out on their porch and laying down and 4 dogs joining them. And so thinking, okay, 4 dogs, but also that's a safe space for all 5 of the creatures in that image. So what belonging looks like, how we imagine it, it's been exciting to explore it through poetry and kind of create a voice of the city. Yeah, each year. It's
been fun to watch it and grow, and walking around and giving you something to do on a day to really explore. And I'm going to leave the last question here for Amanda, but before we get to that, how do we find out more about the Poetry Center?
Yeah, the best way, poetry.arizona.edu. And if you want to come see us, we're on the U of A campus on Helen Street. So the website's a great way to learn more about it.
All right.
Yeah.
My last question for
Sure.
you. So I come from a journalism background of just straightforward writing, facts, nothing more to it.
Yeah.
How does poetry differ from different forms of writing?
Oh, another good question. Good work. So I like to think of, there's different ways to define poetry. How do we try to define it? One that I love from a poet named Mary Ruffel is poetry is a linguistic configuration of energy. So this is how she thinks of poems. So that something made out of words that has a special kind of energy, or that may be hard to define, but it's felt, and that it's made, right? The words, it's manipulated by a person. That's what I think maybe differentiates it or separates it, say, from a piece of journalism or the instructions to program your microwave or other kinds of writing, political discourse, other things. So I feel really lucky to be around that kind of energy, even if it's hard to put our finger exactly on what causes it or how to do it. But when you feel it, you know it, and that's been a lucky thing.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Cheers. Yeah. Thanks so much. Nice to talk with you guys.
Tyler, it's great to have you in. We'll get some information about the Poetry Center because you've got some stuff coming up in May, right?
Right. That's right. Yeah. Happy to talk about that.
We got quickly.
Yeah.
Quickly.
So on May 1st, we're really excited to have the translator Natasha Wimmer coming. Amazing translator from Spanish. Translates Roberto Bolaño. So we're looking forward to that. That's at 7:00 at the Poetry Center. Free parking after 5 p.m. Invite many to come out and hear both languages. So
fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, Amanda, I think we did pretty well.
Yeah, it wasn't so bad.
I give you guys an A+. Good work.
Thank you.
Well, again, I think Tyler mentioned on 4 occasions, good question, and those were never directed at me. So I think we know what's the weak link on the stage here. Tyler Meier, Poetry Center, Amanda Mourelatos. I'm Tom Heath. Thanks so much.
Thank you.